Good afternoon, good evening, and good day! Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. As you can see, I'm still losing the battle of keeping my office couch free from toys and children's stuff. But hey, it happens. And then this box right here is an 8-inch inline fan, ducted. So what that is going to be for is I am building a DIY air filter. So what this is going to be is there's another large box you can't see right here. And what it's got in it is an 8-inch refillable charcoal canister filter. We're going to wrap the whole thing in a MERV 13 air filters and just let it run. Neutralizing smells, cleaning up dust, making it, just that much more habitable in here. And if I like this, then I'll make a smaller one for the EV Nomads, or the HV Nomads, sorry, and find some place I can kind of tuck it in a corner, hang it from the ceiling, something, because there'll be a lot more pollution when we're just out and about. Let's check the audio. I see Anders is there. Good evening, Anders. Good to see you. Let's see. Uh, audio. Audio's good. All right, so now, surprise, surprise, we actually are ready today. Let's go into presentation view. Let's start with a little bit of Rivian stuff, huh? All right, so we've got, this one is a Rivian service employee is revealing exciting information about the refreshed R1 EVs. I didn't gather what it was when I skimmed through the article, but that's exciting because what I did see, we're talking just days from now, on the 6th. On the 6th. Let's see what it says here. This Rivian owner went in for service, talked to a couple of the employees, and they discussed the new features. But a recent discussion, what did they call it? It was like an event. There it is. Rivian owner named Charge Set Go wrote that he was at the service center. And there it is. The name of the event is the Electric Summer Kickoff Event at the Rivian Spaces across the country. So Rivian Spaces are the same as Tesla galleries, Tesla stores. I mean, not the same. They're now analogous too. Because if they were the same, they'd be selling Teslas, and that would be weird to sell Teslas at Rivian. Um, so let's see what he said here. The kickoff event, they had a refreshed R1S in the shop for a while for training. They learned a few previously unknown things. Being a service guy, he was pleased that the servicing the new model was easier, presumably because of optimized wiring and redesigned parts. So basically, same thing we saw with the first refreshes of the Model S and Model X is now happening at Rivian. The R2s and then the R3s will continue that, but fresh, clean slate designs, learning everything they've learned so far. So that's what I've got to say about that. Oh wait, no, I didn't tell you about the date. I mean, I told you the date, but I didn't show you the date. June 6th. So the event is on June 6th. This will be fun to watch. And June 6th is what? Thursday? Uh, uh June 6th is Thursday. So I'll keep an eye on that because I do like the Rivian products. Next, we're getting into our recall segment. We've got a lot of them this week. Some of them are over-the-air software recalls, and others are bring it into the dealership recalls. I guess I can call it dealership for most of these recalls. Bring it in hardware recalls. So let's start with Kia. They're recalling some 2022 Niro EVs because they might catch fire. Alas, you thought they caught them all, and they did not. So let's see what it says. They're advising the automaker is advising the owners not to charge the affected EVs in a garage or other covered structures until the recall is done. It's probably the LG battery thing again, just because when you look at the age of what they're calling back. Let's see. So certain 2022 Neo, totally different brand, Niro EVs are being recalled in the US because of an issue with the high voltage battery safety plug that may overheat. When that happens, the plug could melt. Okay, so it's not the same thing. This one's totally on Kia. The plug can melt, which could lead to a loss of driving power or even a fire. The NHTSA said in its recall report. In total, 2,209 Kia Niro EVs manufactured between July 21st, 2021 and December 2nd, 2021 are potentially affected by this. Owners of the affected vehicles will be notified by mail with the instructions to get their cars to a Kia dealer where the battery safety plug will be replaced free of charge with a revised unit that has a solid bus bar connection with no female-to-male terminal. That seems like something they could have tested. Also, it doesn't say anything about our Canadian friends, but yeah, if you've got one of these in Canada, wouldn't hurt to ask your dealer, hey, there's no recall, but do we have the affected part? And then figure out what you want to do about getting it replaced, because just because there's no recall up there doesn't mean that you don't have the same risk. And the same would go for all of our worldwide viewers, because if you have a Kia Niro built in that factory, what are the odds they use the same part? Pretty good. So let's see. Until that happens, though, Kia is advising owners to avoid charging the EV indoors. Safety plug may overheat and start a fire. They said the root cause has not been determined yet, but the supplier deviation in manufacturing of the safety plug's female-to-male terminal is suspected. With the faulty plug, the contact surfaces may develop high electrical resistance over time, and high resistance means high heat, and high heat can lead to fire. So, high resistance over time, which may cause the connector to melt during charging or driving. Another recall that concerns the Kia Niro EV, this time for the latest generation model. Oh, so 2 for 1 here. I didn't even realize it. It was announced earlier this year on certain units built between June 27th and June 13th, 2023. The front left drive shaft may not have been properly heat treated by the supplier and may break under load. It won't cause a fire, but man, that's not safe either. At least your brakes will still work, right? Brakes and steering should still work. Yeah, the brakes and steering will work. In the United States, 204 cars are potentially affected by this recall. And again, these aren't like US headlights. So if you own one of these newer Kia Niro EVs, ask your dealer. That doesn't mean it will be free, because if it's not under recall, they'll try and get you for it. So then what you need to do is determine your risk and also keep all your paperwork, because when it does become a recall, they need to reimburse you for it. And if they don't reimburse you for it, you can now get that to your council and get the money back from them. I'm not suggesting, litigious society or anything, but I'm suggesting that these are large corporations that will try and save a buck and not always do the right thing. So if you find they don't try to do the right thing, and you went ahead and took care of the safety of your family first, well, you can also take care of your pocketbook. All right, let's see. So that's the Kia, but we're not done with recalls yet. We got millions more cars to go. Let's get started. We've got... Yeah, I was going to do this one differently, and then I found this nice, easy article. So Tesla is going to fix a seatbelt recall with an over-the-air software update recall. The seatbelt warning system with OTA software. All right, so what's happening here is they've initiated a recall for 125,227 2012 to 2024 Model S, 2015 to 2024 Model X, 2017 to 2023 Model 3, and 2020 to 2023 Model Y units over potential issues with the vehicle's seatbelt warning system. The issue would be fixed via through an over-the-air software update. As noted in Part 573 Safety Recall Report from NHTSA FMVSS, number 208 S7.3A1, requires short, audible, and visible seatbelt reminder signals to alert the driver that their seatbelt is not fastened. In affected Tesla vehicles, seatbelt warning light and audible chime may not activate as intended. I think I'm part of this recall because I got an email from them, and I'm guessing it's one of those situations where if you get the right combo of events to happen in the right order, it doesn't happen. Because the other day, I don't like hearing the boop bong, so I usually buckle up before I even touch the brake. The other day, for some reason, I wanted the car on before I had fastened my seatbelt, and I hit the brake, entered the passcode, and then boop bum boop bum. I don't have the new sound yet, so maybe I won't hate the new sound, but it was cool and everything for the first 2 weeks. But after that, oh, I don't like hearing that sound, especially when it's for the seatbelt. And so it's still there for my car. So I'm thinking that if I truly am part of the recall, not just because I have a 2018 Model X, then it's got to be one of those situations where this doesn't always fail to happen. So anyway, with this, just wait for the little yellow clock icon, or the little yellow download icon, or the little yellow or the green download icon. You see any of them, and you will be nearing the time that you can install the software update that fixes the seatbelt chimes. I don't mind these kind of recalls. I like them. They fix things, and they don't take any time out of my day beyond clicking OK on the app. Or in the olden days, like this old video I brought back way back from the day in my Model S, on those kind of updates back in the day before we had the app set up the way we do, you'd have to go out to the car and push go. But again, that was just a trip to my driveway or garage rather than all the way to the nearest manufacturer spot or dealer, as the case may be. Tesla proceeded to investigate the condition from April 22nd to May 14th, 2024. I like how short these timelines always happen to be. The issue was first identified April 18th, 2024 as part of internal compliance audits. And the vehicle that exhibited the fault was a 2024 Model X that was being tested for UNCE regulation number 16 during the tests. The all-electric SUV seatbelt reminders did not chime or display. Okay, so they did say 2024. But only for the legacies, not for the new boys. All right. And then there's a copy of the PDF. I haven't found an easy way to display my PDFs in this interface, so I didn't download it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed any site. All right, so that's the Tesla recall. Shall we wait into the comments? So this being I'll finally be off 2024.3.25. I hope Teslas get recalled every month. I don't blame you. Ignition status. Yeah, that is a weird way to call it, but that is exactly what it is. My mouse is freaking out. Come on, we were just working here. Yeah, so they have an on and ready state, just like the Elder Prius before it. It's going to start an alert for seatbelts when no one is even there. Maybe. Yes, if the Tesla's on and the seatbelt is not connected, just like every other car on the road. Over the horror. Oh, okay, so the little flashy light when it does the test. That's fine. So they're bypassing faulty seat sensors. I wonder what other sensors rely on the seat sensors that presumably no longer work. Doesn't it use them to ensure there's actually a driver in the seat for AP? Yes. Anyway, let's continue our recall roundup. Lee says, greetings and happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Lee. Good to see you. All right, so now we've got some more recalls. I think this is the end of my recall period, unless you guys find me some more that I've missed and send them my way. Rivian recalls the R1S and the R1T and the electric delivery van for improperly aimed headlights. This one is caused by... They've got some stations at the end of the line that help them align the headlights. And one of the stations was out of spec. So every vehicle that went through that particular calibration station was calibrated incorrectly. And because they were calibrated, the headlight aim on these vehicles is not controlled by software. So, or at least not the baseline is not controlled by software. So what's happening is you need to bring it into your Rivian store or get your Rivian mobile tech to re-aim your headlights. So that won't be fixed with software. So let's see. The issue has affected 2,334 examples of the R1S and R1T and the electric delivery van. As per documents published by the NHTSA, the automaker has identified a discrepancy in aiming between headlamp alignment stations on February 7th. Subsequent investigation revealed that said vehicles may not comply with the requirements of the FMVSS for automotive lamps, reflective devices, and associated equipment. And then Auto Evolution goes on to say, being an assembly issue, the recall condition cannot be fixed with an over-the-air software update. Owners will be notified on or before July 6th via first-class mail with instructions to bring their vehicles in for adjusting the aim of the headlamps. A complete list of Rivian service centers can be found on the company's website. Owners can report an issue or schedule an appointment in the Rivian app. So, I don't expect they expect Amazon to bring all their vans in. I think that they'll have their their techs visit each site and just fix it, assuming that Amazon mechanics don't fix everything on their own. Continuing on, and not to poo-poo all over Rivian, however, Motor Trend has reported that Rivian owners are unknowingly doing a dumb thing and killing their tires. They should stop. And before I continue and tell you what it is, this also affects Model S and Model X owners with the Smart Air suspension. Ask me how I know. Continuing on, let's tell you what's going on. So what's happening here is the author goes on to talk about how he's had 3 sets of tires for his car, and none of them show any signs of undue wear, and why he has 3 sets of tires for a car that doesn't have 50,000 miles on it. Like, all 3 sets are still available to be attached to the car at any point. One is for off-roading, one looks better, and then something else. It's in the article. However, he was talking to an owner who'd been through multiple sets of tires every 6,000 miles. And then he went on to see if the guy was like a heavy, on the lightning pedal. Just no, that's not it. All right. Are you towing? No, that's not it. Are you a speed demon? Just like constantly running up there at the max speed? No, that's not it. All right. Well, what else could this be? What are you doing? And the guy says, "Oh no, I'm not doing anything fancy. I just ride in conserve mode all the time." Well, for those of you that are versed in Rivian, what conserved mode does is uh, it's like the old range mode on the legacy Teslas, where it'll do certain things to electronics to make it more efficient, including switch the truck from all-wheel drive to front-wheel drive. It's not an option that's available on the dual motor Rivians, by the way. So it'll make it more efficient through numerous things, and switching it to front-wheel drive is not what's eating up these tires, because not only does it switch it to front-wheel drive, it also reduces the power of the remaining 2 drive units. So it's not like they're lighting up and tearing up all 4 tires somehow, right? What's happening is that conserve mode will then allow the truck to lower 9 more inches, or 2 9 inches, either way. It's a significant deviation from the standard ride height. And for those of you who have a legacy Model S and X and haven't turned off the auto suspension height setting, you know exactly what I'm going to say next. So then what happened is that the tires wore out on the inside, because the car goes from sitting like this to sitting like this. And so the insides of the tires wear out really quickly, and you're left wondering what happened. Yes, you do get some awesome fuel economy while it is like significantly lowering its height. But your tire expense is making up the difference for you really well. So that's right. The lowering will get you the increased fuel economy as promised. But what Rivian is not letting you know, and Tesla didn't let you know, I don't know if they do it now or not, because I'm about to tell you what my solution was. They Tesla wasn't, and Rivian isn't telling you that this will potentially increase your tire wear. So what you want to do is just not run in conserve mode, or if you are in conserve mode, turn off the height adjustment feature if that's a combo you're allowed to do. Same thing for the Teslas. You don't want that auto height setting going on your S or X because it will. In my case, on the S, it was chewing up my rear tires, and it only took me one set to realize what happened and to turn it off forever. So on the S, I just ran it in standard height all the time, and if I needed to, I would raise it up into the higher setting. It's a great aspect, absolutely. So I would run it in the higher setting when needed, like if I needed to go off roading or if I needed to clear an aggressive curb cut or something like that, I would just put it in high or highest. And then when I got up to speed, it would come back down to standard. On the X, I never made this mistake. It was, in fact, I didn't even have a choice in the matter. I mean, I could have changed it back, but my service center, I don't know if they copied the setting from my Model S or if this was just to mitigate the shudder that the Model X suffers from. They delivered it in always low, and they aligned it for always low. So what happens there is my truck just stays in low. And so with the alignment set that way, there's no extra rubbing out of the tires, which is nice because now my tires they last about 50,000 miles, and on the S they also lasted about 50 to 60,000 miles a set, which is better than a lot of owners, but that's about what I've come to expect. So always low on X is roughly the same height as standard height on my Model S, because don't forget X is just a fatter, taller version of the S, and so that solved my problem on the S. So I just left it on standard, told it don't auto lower beyond standard. It stopped tearing up the rear tires. I'm sure if I let it go further, it probably also would have tore up the front tires, but at the time I was spending what, $400 a tire on Model S tires, and that was from my third party source. It was even more directly from Tesla, and that was cheap compared to what I had to spend on Model X tires. But thankfully, I'm only doing that every 50,000 miles. So if you are going through a lot of Model S tires, Model X tires, and you have the auto lower setting turned on, consider setting a height and not letting it go below that. Um, if you have the Rivian R1S and R1T, and you have the option for conserve mode, don't use it unless you can change the setting for it not to be doing this all the time with the heights, because that's what's eating up your tires. And it's not really even that it lowers it; it's that when it lowers it, it comes onto the corners, and so you go from a contact patch like this to one that's like this. Uh, it'll tear up your tires, tear them up real fast. All right. So, like I said, that wasn't a beat up on Rivian. It's just that this article came out right after I found out about this recall, so I put them in that order. And if you don't have a Tesla, Rivian, or Ford, and you've been looking forward to charging up on the supercharger network, the timelines have slipped. Let's see what the thing says. So basically, the only people who don't have a Tesla, Rivian, and Ford, and do make long trips, that could have expected access to the supercharger network, are well, I guess VinFast doesn't have any access, and if you have a BMW, we don't know what the story is for how you're going to get your access because they just said they're putting the ports in and the adapters would be available. They didn't say if they'd be free or paid, or if they'd even be what the procedure is. Everybody else said they're free or they'd be a small fee and coming soon, but not BMW. The problem with VinFast is they are not part of the NACS coalition. They haven't joined the standard. They haven't joined um, the Tesla supercharger crew. Similar to what's going on with Stellantis. Stellantis hasn't joined the supercharger crew, but they did sign up to the uh, JNAX or J3400 standard. But they haven't signed up for supercharging, so who knows what their situation is for being able to supercharge, except that the plug will fit and that they will have adapters. So as far as physical connections Stellantis has got you. As far as being able to actually get the juice flowing at a supercharger, they haven't said diddly. They walked all around the word supercharger, and Tesla didn't say it once. Talking about standards, and we've got this new network. We got this new network coming out. Yeah, somehow they're gonna have a network out in time for their new car, for you to travel cross country. I believe it. Anyway, so this spring, General Motors, Polestar, and Volvo were set to gain access to the supercharger network at 15,000 stalls. They were to be open to non-Tesla EVs, charging for. Joey, you structure this weird for me to read about it, talk about it. Either way, so General Motors, Polestar, and Volvo were coming on, and now that has been delayed. Dan says the J Neezy connector. Hey, that's right, baby. So what happened here is part of Tesla. Yes, Tesla, but Elon Musk firing the whole freaking supercharging team. And I say whole, it was 500 people out of not everybody, but 500 people disappearing overnight. It'll mess things up. As we discussed last week, some people are coming back, so no despair. However, again, 500 missing people overnight will shake things up a bit. And so now those plans have been delayed because apparently they were not cemented before Elon made them all go home. I've got something to say about him later, so I'm trying to kind of keep it there. And let's see. So don't blame this on the company. Blame it on the guy who came back because people said he was goofing off at Twitter. This is part of a widespread layoffs. Yes, that part is true, the widespread layoffs, but not the Tesla didn't let them go. Elon let them go. Lee said he's so reactive. Yes. And it's not a good look. All right, so including the Rebecca Tanichi, she was the head of supercharging. Now it appears the layoffs are starting to show their impact, as several companies were planning to gain access to the supercharger network have had their dates pushed back. According to PC Mag, General Motors and Polestar have both confirmed in statements the dates of their access were pushed back from spring to summer. So if you wanted to take a nice early summer trip on supercharger network, you're gonna have to do it at Magic Dock stations if you don't have a Ford or Rivian or Tesla. Yes, that's exactly right. Lee did facepalm emoji. Let me turn a fan on here real quick. There we go. All right. And so let's see if they gave us any dates. I doubt they did. It's just gone from spring to summer. General Motors pushed back the anticipated purchase of the NACS adapter, which would allow owners of their EVs to plug in superchargers. So purchase here is unclear. Is that General Motors' purchase of supercharging adapters, or is this General Motors allowing their customers to buy them? Buy them for free or buy them for a cost? They were one of the ones that was unclear about what was going on, but mentioned that it was happening. Tesla has already started to backtrack on its supercharger team disband. A few weeks ago, it started rehiring employees, likely in preparation for what Elon Musk had in mind for a tighter ship in the supercharger team. I don't care what he said. He says a lot of stuff. The real bugaboo in the U.S. EV sales failure has been due to stupid politicians who tried to give away money for votes. That's not exactly what happened here. All right, so we're gonna skip these comments because they don't all appear to be informed. All right, so I wrote an article last week I told you guys about where I was just bashing all over Toyota and their stupid statements, and then they're whining about how we don't take them at their word that they're not anti-EV. High sugar. If you guys could hear that, I don't know if you can. It was coming through the Bluetooth, so probably. a medication. I'm not rationing it or anything. Freaking supply chain BS. I called them when I took my last dose. I said, "Hey, this is my last dose. I need it now." They're like, "Oh, you gotta wait." And I'm like, "Hey, that's stupid, because it's not gonna be here in time." So they went through, and then I got the prior authorization crap, and the lady didn't tell me when I could have actually alerted the doctor to it. So then they didn't do anything about it until too late, and so maybe next week I'll have my stuff. They got a shipping notice, but the date they gave me before the shipping notice was next week, which is just asinine. Um, but it's the weekend now, so I can't do anything about it until tomorrow when I can assess the situation and somebody on the phone can actually talk about it. Thankfully, it's not like do or die stuff. It's just royally messed up stuff. Oh man, if it was life or death, again, not typically litigious, but I'd be all over their butts about that. I did my part. Anyway, so like I was saying, I wrote an article last week about Toyota complaining that we were saying they were anti-EV because they were doing stuff like this, um, delaying and dragging their feet and trying to do everything they can to not go EV. You know, we got hydrogen, we got more efficient gas, we've got um, fuel cell, we got this, we got that. Oh, hybrids all the way. Just put a plug on it. Come on now. I'm not saying as a consumer that a plug-in hybrid is bad for you. I'm saying as a manufacturer that a plug-in hybrid is a terrible solution because we've seen that on the whole, people will take the tax credit and they can use the higher fuel economy standards, and very few people actually plug the darn things in. So it's a lie. And in the worst case, the fact that it qualifies for the tax credit, it's a lie that is stealing money from people who are actually going EV or hydrogen. Not that the hydrogen makes any sense, but it does qualify, or hydrogen or any other actually qualifying vehicle. Because if it's just a Prius, the Prius doesn't qualify because it's just well, I mean, the Prius plug-in does, but if it's just a regular hybrid that's never going to be plugged in, it doesn't qualify anymore. It hasn't for 20 years now, um, as it should not. But this lie they allow themselves to tell themselves. In fact, I skipped an article about Ford and GM on their hybrids. Um, they they say, oh, these plug-in hybrids can go 3 months without filling up with gas. This can be true. I went a whole year without filling up my first Volt anyway. Um, they say, oh, you can get this many miles per gallon, which is only true if you plug it in. Because if you don't plug it in, you're getting like 45 to 65 miles per gallon, not 80 to 150. But they're allowed to run around and calculate as if their customers are plugging in all the time, even though study after study shows us that only the Uber nerds are plugging their car in. So anyway, this one that got me riled back up on Toyota again. Toyota has unveiled plans for a new generation of internal combustion engines. Toyota CEO, same guy who, I believe the same guy who set me off last time. In an era when development of battery EV technology is accelerating, there's a new role we can pursue for the internal combustion engine as well. Yeah, it's called the frickin' dumpster. Be done with it. You don't need a new generation. Even if you're going to make a new generation of cars with combustion engines, you don't need to pour any more money into them. Just keep running the one you've already got, and then quietly retire them. That's all it takes. Because now you've got all this R&D that you need to recoup, and it's going to cost your EV drivers. It's going to cost your hybrid drivers. It's going to cost your plug-in drivers. It's going to cost your hydrogen drivers because you need that money back. Because you got to pay your shareholders. You got to pay your bonuses. And if it was a matter of whatever engines are being replaced by this wouldn't qualify, that just tells you their time is up. You knew this was coming for 30 years. You guys all agreed to this. I mean, you guys, automakers, you guys, Toyota and Nissan and Mitsubishi and the Japanese cars, they didn't have a say in the matter, but they did know it was coming. Ford, GM, what was Chrysler, they knew it was coming. They had a say. They were consulted. And all of these companies acting like they're super surprised now is just for show. Oh, you meant it 30 years ago when we agreed and we said, yeah, we're gonna do it. You're gonna do what we agreed to. Generally, yeah, when you enter a contract with the U.S. government, if you're not a Native American, they're gonna they're gonna keep up their end of the contract. So to act surprised by that is just either supremely naive, or the person who had the job before you didn't remind you that this was coming and you didn't do your due diligence while looking through the contracts, or you're just trying to gaslight us all. I lean mostly towards the last one. But anyway, stuff like this is why we say they're anti EV. And then they say, oh, this is just part of what we're doing. You can't say we're anti EV. I just did. Continuing on. The Rivian R1 certification document reveals new battery and wheel options, new lithium iron phosphate pack, standard heat pump, new interiors, and no more 21-inch wheels. I don't know if this article will show us the new Aero wheels, but I gather they're not attractive, but I like them. What would probably help is if they didn't have that wide, shiny band around the outside. But you can fix that with a little bit of vinyl. Or paint. Nope, it doesn't show the new Aero wheels. Someone at Rivian Forum secured a portion of Rivian's application to the US EPA for its 2025 model range. The document covers features headed to R1T and R1S, some of which can deliver on tech. Rivian CEO RJ Sarange spoke of a couple years ago. One such change is the arrival of a lithium iron phosphate pack, which he dropped into the coming soon column back in 2022. The paperwork shows a capacity of 92.5 kilowatt hours, which is lower than what they've got now because they have 105.9 kilowatt hours on the current vehicles. And the LFP batteries aren't as energy dense. Yeah, that's a given, but you can abuse them a little harder. The same process Hyundai is employing its new EM platform. Doesn't appear that's the case. We can't be. I don't know what he's talking about there. Another range-dependent change comes down to the even lower contact patch. Appears Rivian is scrapping its 21-inch wheel, leaving either 20-inch that comes with the all-terrain package or two 22-inch options designed for performance. The other for aero efficiency. The documents where the automaker has given estimates of the range from the R1S with the LFP pack and dual motor drivetrain on 20-inch wheels and all-terrain tires as 258 miles. Not bad. On 22-inch wheels, the range rises to 270 miles. That's counterintuitive. That must be the Aero 22-inch wheel. That's the only way that makes any sense. Either way. Dedicated heater for the high voltage battery pack, replacing the air conditioning compressor to reduce NVH, and the tires on the 20-inch wheels adding more sidewall, going from 275/60 to 275/65. That's, you won't really notice that. I mean, you'll see that if you park them side by side, but it's not bad. New exterior options. That cost. Okay, cool stuff. Moving on. All right, this is a video from Tesla. Every day, our semi-fleet transports battery packs from Giga Nevada to supply our Fremont factory. And turns out that this route is under 300 miles, so even the short-range Tesla Semi, standard range Tesla Semi, probably they would call it, can do the route. Because, again, remember the ranges they gave us were fully loaded at 82,000 pounds. So that's cool stuff. I'd play the video with sound, but Tesla likes to use music. Want to drive one so bad, says Brandon. And yeah, as we talked about last week, we learned some new stuff. What did we talk about last week? It might have come up after we talked. We definitely talked about it on the Tesla Live show. I think we also talked about it here. I think we did because I watched the video before the show came out. Yes. So, yeah, we talked about it last week. Cool stuff coming out. Sawyer says GM has fully unveiled the 2025 Cadillac Optiq EV. Starting price at $54,000 or $46,500 after federal EV credit. range of 300 miles estimated. 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, which, if you watch the comments below, people think that's optimistic. I was not going for a pun there. Optimistic sounds like it could be a Cadillac name if you spell it with a Q. 150 kilowatt max charging speed, which is very pedestrian in today's age. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not good either. The length of 190 inches, of which the Model Y is 187 inches. Jeep did some stuff too, but theirs was all concept-y, so I left it out because certain brands have a knack for just doing concepts, and then either it looks completely different or isn't what they said. So, show me a production intent Jeep, and I'll share it. But theirs was the same situation. It was very had the exact same wheelbase as the Model Y and was similar in length to this one, longer than Model Y. Overall, 33-inch diagonal LED display, 19-inch surround speaker system with Dolby Atmos, 126 color dual zone ambient lighting. Ooh. Why is it only 126? Like, isn't it something else? Like, you can just kind of drag through a color wheel. Probably cheapness. It's GM we're talking about here. Super Cruise hands-free driver assistance and delivery start in the fall of 2024. People have asked, what's the difference between the Optic and the Lyric? I don't know. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. BJ Henkel asks if it has NACS. Sawyer says no. So we've learned now that just because it's 2025 model year doesn't necessarily mean it'll have the NACS port on it. However, this could be because Cadillac was second in line. We don't know what 2025 Fords will have on them, if they'll have the integrated NACS port or not. If we see the new Ford come out with a 2025 model and no NACS, then we'll know that they meant the 2025 calendar year. The other thing to look at with this, though, is somebody else pointed out in the thread that this thing was in development long before GM joined the NACS train. So just because it's coming out as a 2025 doesn't necessarily mean that it should come with a native port at launch. However, other people pointed out in the thread that it's kind of foolish not to just chunk away all of those charge ports you ordered with CCS1 and not having J3400 on them, because some people who don't need to get a car right now but want that one will just wait till it has the port they want, so they don't have to faff about with adapters. Yes, the adapters are not hard, but if you're going to have this car for 10 years and you can wait 3 months to not have to mess with the adapter for life, it's not a hard decision. Not at all. All right, let's continue on. Plug-in car sales in Europe increased 11% in April of 2024. The Model Y was the top-selling EV model, but just barely ahead of the Volvo EX30. Let's take a look and see what they say. What they say. Where are your charts? There we go. Inside EVs is all about the charts for me. Right, so BEVs up 143,000, up 17% and 13% market share. Plug-in hybrids 77,000, up 2% and 7% market share, for a total of 219,770, up 11% and 20% market share. Not bad. Graph go up. Over 920,000 passenger plug-in electric vehicles were registered in Europe during the first 4 months of the year, about 21% of the total market. Year-over-year change from January to April, BEVs 0.59 million and 13% market share. PHEVs 0.33 million and 8% market share, for a total of 923,171, up 6% and 21% market share. Is this just the Europe article? I thought I clicked on the US article. Maybe Europe data is in and US data is not. Either way, anyone telling you that EVs aren't selling is trying to lie to you, or they're just repeating some stuff of somebody else who was trying to lie to them and succeeded. Tesla Cybertruck police cruiser looks ready for serious action. So here we get the upfit. This is the unplugged performance upfitting department. They went with the external light bar for whatever reason. Depending on how short your car is, you might not see the light bar, huh? It's mounted below the peak. Nah, the light itself comes over the peak, but interesting. With some steelies on it. Let's look at it. Oh, and they put them in the running boards too. Or not that running board, they call it the, I'm gonna call them running boards. That's not what they are, but that area there. Got the lights in the front, got the itty bitty wheels, huge tires. The new standard in police vehicles, up.fit. 90,000 for the whole package. Also includes a kit for the Model Y. Tesla Tuner noted that the Model Y police vehicle could save police departments $27,012 over 5 years. And as we saw with the Barkerville Police Department over on the Tesla Life show, you can actually save more than 27 if you run your stuff right, to the point where you could buy new cars and pay more salaries. What's with that color? Someone's gonna run into that thing at night. I think it's for show because you would just paint it or wrap it in your department's colors. So anyway, while my browser freaks out there, let's close that tab. I guess we just gotta wait for it to stop freaking out. Okay, so yeah, we talked about this one. Yeah, I didn't write a comment. So this one, in my notes, I wrote FAFO, which stands for words I don't say on this show, but FAFO. And I didn't read the article. Firm that Elon Musk once called ISIS calls for Tesla shareholders to ditch his $56 billion pay package. So this gets back into what I was addressing earlier, where, yeah, he's free to say what he wants, but he's not free from consequences of what he says. And because he's in such a high stakes, high visibility position, while he is not required not to say stuff, he would be best to think before he speaks in public and watch what he likes and retweets and comments on X. That's all. I'm not telling you how to vote your pay package, but I'm reminding you that you should vote your Tesla shares if you got them. And yeah, not telling you how to vote, but just saying that some of the people who have outspoken about how they want to persuade you to vote have suggested that they are either punishing him for his loose speech or they are punishing him for his loose speech tanking the stock because after he met the goals and then he started to get into the Twitter mess, it wasn't all that great for the Tesla stock unless you were already in for a long time. And even then, it was up from where you bought in, but it was not up from where it was because when he was meeting the pay package, it was way up here, and then it was down here. And that's what people are saying. Other people are saying it's a contract, you got to fulfill it, this, that, and the other. And then other people are like, hey, it's just stock, it's not actual cash. But the whole point of it was FAFO. You say a bunch of stuff about people, call them names. Oh, Turns out that they're a large shareholder and they can affect your bonus or actual pay in this case. Too bad, so sad. Um, I'm curious where it ends up, but if he doesn't get paid, it's probably because of his own mouth. Moving on, why PHEVs like GM's next gen Volt need at least 60 miles of range by Jennifer Sensiba. And she's right. Uh, if you have a car that just barely meets the day's commute, you're going to get, you're not going to get everybody plugging in if they feel that there's no benefit to it. But if you can exceed the commute by a little bit comfortably, then you're going to cover wintertime, you're going to cover multiple commutes, and people will plug in because they see the benefit. Let's see what she says. How much range is enough range? Nissan Leaf spent a good part of his life roasting in the Phoenix sun. By the time I got it, had 50 miles of range. She couldn't buy Model S or X at the time. Yeah, that's why I got 2 volts first. I had to look at affordable alternatives. She got a Volt. 2013, yeah, that was my second Volt as well. 30 and 40 miles of range. I got between 30 and 50 miles of range, but I also was a hypermiler. The range was depleted. The car made a groaning sound. Yes, it did sound terrible as that engine was running. Come to life from being an EV to being a hybrid. Initially charged at home using 120. Didn't take long to find needed a little more power. Take the kids to school, morning drive. Yeah, exactly. You're not just commuting. There's other stuff you're going to want to do. Yeah, there you go. 01010. Exactly. Fool around and find out is the friendly version of what I was saying there. Yes. Fool around and find out. And again, he's free to say what he wants, but he's not free from consequence. Uh, you offend the wrong people, and they might snip back at you. Especially if you let them get in a position that them snipping back at you could hurt you. So upgraded the wiring in the garage, and then upgraded the EVSE to feed the Volt with 3.3 kilowatts instead of 1.4. Yeah, I did the same thing. This meant I could do 2 and 3 full charges a day, which effectively upped my capacity from 10 kilowatts to roughly 30. Beyond me, found 100 miles of range was more than enough. Yeah, that's what I'd really like to see, really, is make EVs, plug-in EVs, plug-in hybrids, give them 150 miles of range, and then the teeniest, tiniest of generators. I think that the Ram charger is going to be a good fit for everyday Bob, especially if he understands that plugging in will cost him less, but at the same time, he wants to take a long trip, out of the region, can get there. In fact, what's even better with the Ram charger is it's still full range EV, and then it's got the V6 going on. But anyway, you're only burning gas on the longest of trips, plus the maintenance cycles, assuming they run like the Volt does. And if you're towing, you're going to get half your range anyway at the worst. I mean, you can make it much worse, but if you're driving like a normal person, keeping it in towing speeds and not overloading your tow, you can lose up to 50% of your range. And so I think that is the best right there, to have a full range and then then a hybrid, but minimum of 150-mile range, and then the hybrid stuff, I think, would be something that I'd be okay with them being able to get the exceptions for all the EV credits and the better fuel economy and everything like that. And then if you don't plug it in at 150-mile range, that is a you problem, because you're making a terrible mistake. But when it's 30, 40 miles range, 11 miles of range Toyota, 22 miles of range Toyota, uh, most people aren't going to bother with plugging it in unless it's super, super easy. Like if they get some easy parking at the mall or the grocery store, or if they got the free charger with installation at home and it's like right there where they park and they can just take 2 seconds to plug it in. But if they got to unwind the 120, and then they're not going to do it unless they're super nerds or super cheap. Both of those groups will do it, but everybody else is As we saw with all the various studies, especially with the fleets, it just doesn't happen. But give it 60-mile range, give it 150-mile range. I'd say 150 makes the most sense. If you can't do the full range like the Ram Charger, you do those, and people will plug them in. Or even if they can't plug them in every time, they'll at least make the opportunity to plug in when they're at the mall or at the library or any place else that has some free or cheap charging. They'll say, oh yeah, let me just plug it in, no big deal, and I can use that later. They don't even bother if it's 30 miles of range. All right, so this is about pollution at a gigafactory, not in Germany, as you can see by the chart. This is about, from Clean Technica, it's about light pollution. So those of you that live near the gigafactory, Austin, or work there, or drive past there at night on a cloudy day, foggy night, you might understand this. And it's not just about the gigafactory, it's just they were the easy target to make a nice headline click grabbing article. As you can see, this is the chart of light pollution across the whole of the continental US. And you can see from way past the eastern seaboard to way past the Mississippi, we have ourselves a light pollution problem. And later on in the article, they explain that it doesn't have to be this way. You can use less intense lighting. You can use direct, lighting that doesn't scatter to the sides as much. You can, in fact, let me put the article right here in the chat so you guys can read it. This will be in the YouTube chat for those of you on. I fixed the Twitch connection. If you're on X, I don't know what to do about how to get back to X yet. Hopefully they update this streaming software so I can just. I mean, I'm not allowed to share the same chat on some of them like Twitch, but like, there's nothing stopping me from multicasting. So hopefully there's an update for that. Just Twitch and a couple of others don't want me to have all the comments all over the place or something to that effect. It's changed a couple times because Twitch realized they made a stupid call. Anyway, yeah, so this article is about light pollution. And so here's the example they gave of somebody who said that it used to be pitch black at night at Texas there, and now it's stronger than the full moon, and they had to buy blackout curtains to sleep at night. And so I'm not just ragging on the Gigafactory here. This is something that we have definitely all over the country, but probably all over the world, really. We just gotta. It costs a little bit more to have a properly designed light fixture, and then you have to fight the desire to make it as bright or brighter than daylight out, because we do have night vision. So you just gotta make it enough that you can see to do what the task is. If it's walking to and from your car, or if it's working, you probably want it full brightness. Walking to or from your car, making sure that you're not gonna get assaulted in some way, that there's not gonna get ambushed, going to your car, that sort of thing. Taking out the trash, somebody's just lying in wait. You don't want that, but they're just trying to urge us to make smarter lighting decisions, and I can agree with that. See, nobody needs to sit in the dark to solve this. See, they're telling you they're not crazy. They're not crazy. They just want us to stop and think. And see, the cool thing here is less output doesn't cost you as much. However, aiming it does cost you more. So, you know how I like to say, doing the right thing usually helps your wallet, but aiming them does cost more. But having a lower output will save you money. So, let me know what you think on this on the comments, either in the chat or in the comments later on for the people who watch later. And tell me what you think about light pollution. Here's an exciting one, also from Clean Technica. Solar has passed 100% of power demand in California. Again. So in this case, the record solar power in California passes 100% power demand. They've gone for 56 days in a row. Electricity from solar, wind, and hydro has exceeded 100% of power demand in California's main grid for part of the day. Also going back further, that's been achieved for 80 out of the last 86 days. That's since March, International Women's Day, late winter. Repetition turns hypothesis into theory. The theory here is that we can consistently and increasingly supply clean, renewable energy to California's grid for 54 straight days, and 78 out of 84 wind, solar, water supply has exceeded 100% of demand during part of the day. And you'll notice here that the duck curve is not really being exhibited in this chart. So we remember that for the new net NEM 3.0, the new net metering requirements, California's been requiring people to put in batteries. And so what happens with the battery is you can absorb any excess and use it later when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing. And I don't think they have any of them sayings about why water doesn't work, because while it's true that water might stop working, generally the sources we have for water aren't intermittent. So see, now it doesn't look so much like a duck. And they go on to California quickly solving the duck curve. The best news is California seems to be quickly chopping the duck curve down to size. The duck curve basically comes down to this. In some energy markets, daily peak demand occurs after sunset, when solar power is no longer available. In locations where a substantial amount of solar electric capacity has been installed, the amount of power that must be generated from sources other than solar or wind displays a rapid increase around sunset and peaks in the mid-evening hours, producing a graph that resembles the silhouette of a duck. So the solution is clear. Energy storage. Store that bursting solar energy produced in the middle of the day and gradually use it in the evening as the sun goes down and electricity demand rises. The good news is California's there, and we can all agree that the way they did it was quite ham-fisted, and it did not make people feel warm and fuzzy. They were trying to do the right thing, but apparently they could have done the right thing better. I will agree with everybody in that argument on all sides. All right, but then you run to the limit. Solar and wind become worthless when there's an excess, increasingly the case. Your grid might not be able to handle the solar or wind peaks. Your daily demand fluctuations don't match solar and wind. Seasonal fluctuations in wind and solar. Batteries fix all this. Phase 2, batteries. Solar, wind, and batteries replace 90% of fossil fuel electricity. Batteries can basically solve problem 1, 2, and 3 for you. That's huge. They can flatten the duck curve to a razor, and it's already started in California. So here we can see 2024, this dark right there, and then we can see which one was the worst. It looks like 2021 was the worst peak on this side. Oh. Is California finally moving away from natural gas? Methane. 24. Batteries taking the charge. Anyway, continuing on, let's look at, I guess you guys might want this article too. Moving on. Driving on electricity. This one is another nice long article from Clean Technica, but I only wanted the graphs because they were, you've seen them before, but they finally got updated. So this is from 2022, comparing emissions driving the average EV as a gasoline MPG equivalent in 2022. So the dark blue regions are where you are at 40 to 57 miles per gallon, and everywhere else is greater than 57 miles per gallon. But this is not the best chart. This is just emissions. So in Hawaii, you're looking at 44, and over here, you're looking at 44. Michigan, you're looking at 53. This region here, you're looking at 48, but everywhere else is just cooking. And not all of Hawaii either, just this one island. But then look at the, wait, that's emissions, and this is emissions driving 2022. Oh, driving the most efficient EV as a gasoline MPG equivalent. So this is average EVs in blue, and this is the best EV in green. So there, we're looking at it's greater than 57 miles per gallon, no matter where you drive it. And that's taking into account all of the local mixes of fuel. So you're looking at the lowest being 58, 58. got 63. It goes up to 141, 178, 130. Even if you drive in West Virginia, you're going to be driving on coal. Yes, this is true. But at 84 miles per gallon, does your whatever you're trying to sell me on keeping do that? No, it doesn't. So US average of 123 miles per gallon in their best car. Electrifying larger vehicles like pickups can also reduce emissions. So true. All right. So this one I didn't have a chance to read because they had certificate errors right up until the show started. Uh, Ford electric pike Ford's electric Pike Peak race truck makes 3 whole tons of downforce. So here, with it being a 4-wheel drive EV, in a race configuration, the wings actually do something. They're not just for show. 3 tons of downforce. Ford's return to Pikes Peak later this month with an electric pickup. The Blue Oval has been teasing the EV demonstrator since March, but today they gave us a complete look at the truck, revealing it can generate 6,000 pounds of downforce at 150 miles per hour. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it looks aggressive. I wonder if this is the same one that they said was not coming to market earlier with the big brake situation. Looks like it'll be fun. Circus act. It's yes, it is. It is for show. It's a race truck. They don't make them as commuters. All right, Tesla driver asks for a relaxed FSD mode, so Elon Musk promises hurry mode. I don't know what's going to become of this, but Galley was complaining that chill was too aggressive. Uh, my problem has been ever since the FSD came out and they gave us the profiles that there's never been a mode that was doing what I wanted. Like when it was doing the rolling stops before they got smacked by the NHTSA, I didn't want the rolling stops, so I had to choose chill. But I wanted it to drive like it had some gusto, and I didn't have it. There was no in between for me. Like I had to choose whether I was going to risk getting a ticket or if I wanted to just granny start from every stop. So I took the granny stops because I wasn't willing to risk a moving violation. What's up, Greg? Good to see you. And so Elon responded to Galley that we're gonna have chill, average, and hurry. No idea if that's just a renaming of everything or if this is actually gonna change parameters from what's in there now. But again, the man says stuff, and the only way to know what actually becomes of it is to try it out when it comes out. Yep. All right. So then finally, I'd updated the Nomad notes for HV Nomads, and this one was a license plate journey. So our license plate has made its way over to Washington State. Why? I don't know. I don't know. That's the last place the USPS tagged it at, and it has no business being there because we're not anywhere near Washington State. Hey, Patrick, you could go pick up my my plate. But then I pointed out that we have narrowed down our selection of washing machines. Uh, Glamping for sure, right? But if we're going to be in this thing full time, I can't be, as I've said before, we can't be doing laundromats. They do have a LG pedestal washer that we used to have years ago that would be an appropriate size, but it's really small. We're talking like 1 cubic foot, so you couldn't really do any bedding in it. The Samsung that we're looking at here has been rated as having better filters by Appliance Repair YouTube. It's got a bigger tub. Uh, it dries more completely, but it takes longer to do its cycles. But what I was looking at mostly was that the lint filter is more effective stock, and that it's lighter and smaller than the GE, which we already have. Patrick O'Brien could pick it up for me. Exactly. uh, Hopefully it shows up this week because it was supposed to have been here by Wednesday. It went straight from my mailbox coming to my other mailbox and took a left turn at Albuquerque, I suppose. Yes. That's the wrong coast. Um, yeah, so this is what we have now, and I've gone ahead and started electrical taping the back of the filter, and that has helped immensely with the filter blow past and how much collects in the filter. And I don't know if they're going to fix that before we would order a second one. But the thing with the GE is that it's super heavy. It's over 300 pounds. And Samsung also claims to be 300 pounds, but one of the appliance guys said there's no way this thing's 300 pounds because I can move it by myself. And he said he needed help moving the GE. So one of them is lying about the spec. So we picked one of these two. We don't know which one yet. Probably also going to come down to price, and right now the Samsung is cheaper. So then I finished the 3D modeling of the interior of the unit. I showed you guys that live last week, but I didn't put it in the article or in any article on the website. So there it is. And then I've got this. This EcoFlow Wave 2. It's rated for 107 square feet. And with the full installation, our trailer should be around 114 square feet. So we're talking a discrepancy of 7. What I like about this one is we can put our holes in the floor for supply air, the supply and the exhaust, and then we don't have to worry about a free spinning fan or induced current in a motor on a mini split. If we put it on the tongue, which is the easiest and most sensible place to put it. The other option is we can put it uh, with the proper mounting. We could put it probably behind or in front of one of the fenders. And then we wouldn't have to worry about tagging it out, getting a cover for it. But we've already got this, so I'm gonna see if we can use it. It's a heat pump, so you'll see how it works for cooling and heating, along with probably, as I was talking about the filter earlier. Let's try it and see. Worst case is plug the holes up. But we're also going to install a small ERV for a whole house, like a cottage, because the ERV is a energy recovery ventilator. Because we're going to have so much insulation on this thing, it's going to be so sealed up that there's a real chance of not having enough oxygen or too much carbon dioxide inside. So what the ERV does is it exchanges outside air for inside air, but they cross paths. So they exchange heat energy and humidity. Whereas there's another product that does almost the same thing called an HRV, which is a heat recovery ventilator. The problem with the HRV is it doesn't do anything to mitigate humidity. And the last thing you want in an enclosed trailer is for the humidity to be allowed to just rise, because then you get black mold and lots of it, and that's not safe. So we're going to install a small house ERV and then duct it also to the floor so that we're not putting any penetrations in the side of the vehicle, or the roof is going to have all solar, so there's no room to do anything to the roof, allowing it to exchange fresh air for our stale air. And I don't know how effective it'll be, but we're gonna probably the smallest one I could find did like 150 cubic feet or 100 cubic feet. So we'll just dial it down to like 50 or whatever is appropriate, so you don't have like a pressure situation. But all the ones I looked at, they when you first turn them on, they do an automatic balance, so there shouldn't be any pressure even if we run it at full speed. But cool thing about full speed is if we have a situation where, say, some food gets burnt or some kind of noxious smell is introduced inside, uh, we can crank it up and just empty out all the air, and also not have to empty out all of the heating and cooling like you would with just a straight exhaust fan, which is pretty cool. And then we got some calculations. It's a nice read. And then if you want to sign up for the newsletter, go over to HV Nomads, give me your name, email address, and eventually we'll do some occasional newsletters. I'm not going to do a lot of them because I know people don't like to have their inbox flooded, and I don't like to write that much. So it'd be a perfect balance, I think. And so that was the latest in what we've got going on. Not much has happened because it's been parked, because it doesn't have a license plate on it. Once we do get our license plate, we've got 2 trips to make as a cargo trailer to empty out our storage locker. They were not kidding when they said the rates were going up. I got a bill and I was like, "Whoa, what happened here?" And I remember that they told me that the rates were going up, so we're gonna empty that sucker out and either move what remains to a smaller one, or, like I said, just empty it out and be done with it. And then once it's no longer doing cargo trailer duty, we can start to convert it. We're gonna have to first get our insulation. I've decided we're gonna do the XPS foam, and then we'll do the home shake a can spray foam, just because I'm not feeling doing the spray foam, like the full spray foam. It just seems to be a lot more work than I was into, as well as if we have to get a professional to do it, it's going to be with professional fees. And I'm still going to have XPS on the floor anyway because I need something solid and non-compressive. Well, not non-compressive, but something solid and resistant to compressing that I can use for the floor. Uh, I saw a guy who does buses. He put the rear tires of his bus on this foam, and nothing happened. And then I don't know about this place, but other places like this, uh, they use this XPS foam as a insulator for the slab foundation. And if you can put a whole house on it or a bus on it and not worry about it, then it'll be fine with the with a little bit of floor I'm gonna put on it in a trailer. And they have a newer version of it from Corning that is called Formular NGX, I believe, that uses more green sources for the energy and the source material. I guess I need to reach out for them and see if they will sponsor us. I guess that's also on my to-do list. Well, that'll be fun. Make that package up and see if they're interested. Worst case is they say no and I go buy it myself, right? So, with that, I want to thank all of you for your time today watching the show. I want to thank Anders and the rest of the crew for being channel members and sponsoring the show itself. And I will catch all of you on the flip side. Tomorrow, we've got a Tesla Life Express coming out on the Tesla Life Show channel. And then on Wednesday, we'll be live again with the Tesla Life Show. So we'll catch you there.